Right, I'm just going to so just the last point before we wrap up, because unfortunately we're running out of time. It's a shame we could talk about this all day, I'm sure, but I just want to go around each of the panelists and ask them what you think is a really good technology to look into right now, and what you would steer clear of, because either you think it's rubbish or it's not ready, or you know, what's going to cut through the noise and what is just going to get lost. So, you know, we've talked about chatbots, quite good. We've talked about messaging platforms, probably a good idea. We've also mentioned things that maybe not so good, like there's a lot of work going into VR, and you know, we tried Google Glasses and all that kind of thing. Are individual company apps a good idea, or should people be moving more towards the big platforms like WhatsApp, WeChat, Facebook, that kind of thing? So, as a closing quick comment, Ursula, what do you think is a good thing to pursue and a good thing to just leave alone for now?
Chatbot, social media, as we said before, absolutely. Collaborative working tools, even within the organization, to create a basis to exchange and for innovation. And blockchain would be the ones to look into. To forget about, I think it depends. I would somehow think, yes, question a company app, do you really want to put time and effort into this? Can you not reach your passengers, your customers and clients better via their channels, which they use every day, instead of creating yet another one? So that's for sure, I think, one to really question, dependent on your situation. Yeah, I leave it at that.
Cool. Nick?
The things that interest me, connected to the chatbot thing, it's the artificial intelligence is not just giving someone something in real time, it's the ability they have to anticipate what someone needs. So it's the anticipation rather than managing an experience. So how can you ease someone through it? Edge computing, I think, is interesting. So we've had cloud. Edge computing is where you push more of the load to the edge of the network, so it's more local processing on say your mobile device, because that's becoming more available. Things that perhaps sort of keep watching, it's blockchain is keep watching for me, because it has inherent technology problems. It can't scale, it can't deal with high transaction volumes. Hence, where you can't update the ledger transaction ledger globally. So there are new platforms, the Ethereum platforms, trying to get over that. So it's a keep watching to see how that evolves. And the interesting thing about that isn't necessarily the technology, it's having a non-state based currency, one that's not attached to a state. And that to me is an interesting concept.
Once the revolution dies down, we can all get back.
Yeah, so there'll be something there. And of course smart contracts, which are within blockchain, which simplifies the contract handling process.
One of the things we really see is quite interesting about using blockchain technology is biometrics and identity, because the ultimate personalization barrier currently in the industry is your passport and border control and stuff like that. So the
facial recognition is also improving.
Yeah, but the idea is and the facial recognition is there, man. They're using it at a lot of airports already. But if you could attach your genuine identity that's been verified into a blockchain type identification process, we don't need all this passports and boarding passes and everything else. We can just attach it to your face or whatever that.
Yeah, whatever biometric decision you made. Yeah.
Not there yet, though. I would argue, not by a long shot. Kevin?
Yeah. So the typewriter. I'm getting somewhere here. The typewriter was a really unnatural way of communicating, right? Because it was clunky and it was weird. Then you get to a computer keyboard, which is slightly easier to use and you can delete and all those kind of things. Then you get to touch screen and it becomes a much more fluid way of communicating with the device. Where this is all going to get really interesting is in voice, because voice is the most natural way of communicating, whether it's with each other or whether it's with a brand. So I think it's maybe not in the next 6 months or in the next year and a half or whatever. We're talking about 2018 here, but not understanding the opportunity that voice communication is going to, or the effect that voice communication is going to have on a brand, is probably something that would be an error on any brand's part, in particular airlines, because people were going to just want instant communication, or in the case of disruption, or whether it's a booking or anything like that. So that's the things to focus on. Ones to drop. I mean, virtual reality, I think, gets a bit of a bad rap. It is a gimmick at the moment, but it is something that I think is just going to happen anyway, whether we like it or not, or whether we think it's going to be a gimmick. And I kind of agree on this, the company apps idea that there is perhaps less emphasis should be made on providing the most amazing airline app or a company app. You know, the Lord of the Rings reference. At some point, there will be one app to rule them all, and it probably won't be one that's designed by British Airways or any other airline for fear of picking on British Airways. It will be done by a platform, and it will handle everything.
Great stuff. We've run out of time, unfortunately. So thank you, everyone. It's been brilliant. Just to wrap up, can we? Okay. There's been so many great tips throughout. My favourite being Slice the Elephant from Ursula. I love that. But I think we've all. I think.
I wasn't sure if I misheard that or not. I was.
No, it's brilliant. I love it. I think that's perfect. Yeah. I think one of the things I've really learned out today, particularly talking to we're talking to everyone, but I think coming from our two great consultants here is about, trying to get this clearly, I think technology innovation is probably about as much with interacting with your various stakeholders in a meaningful way and forming a plan as it is about anything to do with the actual technology, which is quite interesting. But I think we all know that we need to, keep the passenger at the core of all of this and make sure that they're behind all of our thinking. I think, what the point on the screen there about it all being a slow burning process, even though the relentless pace of the future keeps coming along quicker and quicker, the way those things evolve in a practical sense, you've got to keep an eye on where it's going to go next. Kevin's example there's brilliant about, user interfaces. Virtual reality at the moment might be a bit useless, albeit great fun, but I was at an installation recently where they'd stuck a virtual reality helmet on an 80-year-old guy, and he got that straight away because he knows how to navigate around a 3D space, and he knows how to do visual and auditory input because we all live there. So there might be opportunities for that in the future. Also, any channel, we banged on about it all the way through this, don't get too hooked up on one particular thing. Facebook Messenger isn't going to be the way of the future, it's just a part of the future. And, as are chatbots and everything else. Yeah, and I think this is just a good final point on this, is that you need to have faith in people when it comes to technology. I think we've talked about getting, user input and keeping the passengers a hand, but I think, we need to accept that technology, we have to be optimistic about the way everyone's going to use this technology rather than scared about it. So that concludes our session for today. There's some information in here about us which will go out when we send the slide deck out. If anyone's interested in how we can help you, develop your messaging capabilities and how you handle customer service, just let us know. There's also going to be some contact details for us and the speakers. So it just remains for me to say thank you very much for all of our panelists for helping out today. It's been really interesting, and thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody.
Right, we'll see you for the next one in a couple of months' time. Thanks.